Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your end of March 2020 tarot update. It's Raina here, so just shuffling the cards. Maybe I will do this to make things a lot more, I don't know, varied. And as always, I tell you that I'm a Sagittarian too, so I take interest in these types of readings. Okay, interesting. So we have three major arcana cards in this, and all at kind of pivotal positions, because one is the past, one is the spiritual message, and the outcome card. So, you know, like major developments. But we'll take the first card first. The heart of the matter is the Knight of Pentacles, which is a card that's associated with Taurus, and the Taurian energy of the workhorse, the person who is just kind of wash, rinse, repeat, kind of on that path of just working day by day and doing what it takes to just keep things going. Having a financial goal in some cases. Obviously, there might be a Taurus person in your life that you are focused on. But I think that, you know, if we look at the past position here, we have the Judgment card. And it's funny because for some reason when I picked this up, I was thinking of the Tower. And the reason is because I think I was mentioning that the Tower card to me seems like it should be connected to Pluto. And actually, this card is connected to Pluto. And I mean, it makes sense in a certain way, because the Judgment card is about karma, cause and effect. And so I can understand it's about, you know, what you reap what you sow, and that kind of thing. And it's not a punishment, it's kind of just, but it's an interesting thing. You know, now that I think about it, when I think of the Judgment, when we talk about, you know, I don't talk about it, but some people say God's judgment is kind of like, you could say karma, or some kind of repercussions for past behaviors. But regardless of how you decide to characterize it, if this is a relationship that hasn't worked out, then it's like simply learning from that, if you want to call it a mistake, or I wouldn't call it a mistake, but just any kind of problems that have ensued. Kind of like looking at your judgment too. I mean, even the literal judgment that we can have. Or perhaps some kind of a judgment that has a connection to either your love life or your workplace, because the Knight of Pentacles is definitely connected to the worker. And the Judgment can be, you know, some kind of, if you've opened a case, like I keep forgetting what they call it, not arbitration, but something that, you know, you feel was unfair in the workplace. And if that's the case, I mean, this is the higher message, and this is a card that would indicate victory, but this is a spiritual message, so I don't usually read it as the literal definition. I look at the higher meaning of it, which transcends just the situation at hand. So, for instance, if you did open a case at work and it led to some kind of victory, that you were in the right, or you got, like for instance, if you found out that somebody else was making less than you and you disputed it, or you brought it to the attention of the company and you won the case, yes, that can indicate that you actually are the victor. But on a higher level, you may have also learned what it takes to have to deal with an unpleasant situation and keep your cool and keep doing a good job, because the Knight of Pentacles is kind of on that, I was going to say the straight and narrow, but I mean really focused on the job at hand. And even the Chariot can be about focus, but the Wild Horse is a duality, kind of trying to keep you, or threatening to keep you, distracted or divided within yourself, and you're able to kind of triumph over that. So that can be really a good outcome. And the Chariot is connected with Cancer. And one of the things too, we did have a lunar eclipse in Cancer in January. So if that was a timing card where everything changed, that might also be indicated. But again, this is more on the spiritual level, the bigger picture, not just what is happening in the moment. And of course, our lives are it's kind of on two levels. We have the mundane experience, and then we have the higher experience that we are having to kind of always keep in mind when we're still living the material version. So what crosses you is the Two of Swords, and this can be this sense of being at a crossroads, but still not wanting to face that you are there. One of the things that I was getting at when I was talking about personal relationships is that you may be using work as a refuge, as kind of a stabilization, if you've been going through a lot of stuff. Like, the judgment could be a legal judgment, going through a divorce, and keeping your head, keeping, functioning or being productive. And yet, there may be still something that you need to decide. So whether it's moving, I mean, if I got the Two of Wands, that might be more about relocation. But I could see any Two of Swords, to me, it's normally about maybe this crossroads in general, about like, with air energy, to me, it's like more of the concept of your life. So where you want to be in general, not literally, not like in terms of location, but more your mindset. So for instance, let's say we're talking about a workplace situation, and there is something that you triumphed over, there was a judgment in your favor. You still may feel like uncomfortable about being there, because even if something like that happens where you emerge victorious, there still is kind of bad blood sometimes, where there's resentment, thinking, hey, you didn't tell me that, why did you pay me less, or why didn't I get the promotion from the get-go? I put in a lot of time, I've done a good job, and you gave it to somebody who basically, just came off the street, or, doesn't have the same experience that I have. What happened here? And it can create a lot of resentment on both sides, even with the other person. They may feel like, how dare you go over my head, or something like that. It could be a coworker situation, and that can feel awkward and uncomfortable. So you may still feel like something isn't quite right. And I think a lot of people right now, I've been getting a lot of Pentacles cards in recent readings I did a mid-month version of this reading, and now I'm doing the end of the month. And I've been getting a lot of the Pentacles, so I think, it's possible that a lot of people are dealing with workplace matters, and, especially nowadays with the kind of culture that there is in the workplace, it's not how it used to be, which, has a good side to it too, because the soul wants more out of life, I guess, compared to the past when people were just happy to survive, and now we have greater expectations. I think that's a good thing. But it can create a lot of flux, or a lot of changes in and out, people like coming and going, and that sometimes can make it so that there isn't loyalty on either side. So being able to see the truth, the person here is blindfolded, so they're kind of trying to make a decision, but it's almost like being in denial, because they're not really seeing things as they really are. And it's funny, because I have what's coming in, the Seven of Cups, and this is almost a similar card. Now this can be like having a lot of options, and so, Jupiter is in Cancer, Capricorn, and for Sag, this is the second house of earned income. And one of the things that can happen with Jupiter in the second house is it can create a lot expansion with material resources, or at least the opportunities they're in. So you may have a lot of opportunities, but you may be kind of not sure what is the best route to take. So there may be kind of muddled thinking or wishful thinking, and believing that something is a sure thing or a good, way to go, and maybe not really seeing the totality of that. If you're getting other offers, if you're like looking for other jobs, something like that. And so in the same thing with personal issues, if you're dealing with someone, if you're dating again after getting divorced or what have you, and you feel like, I don't know what the Two of Swords, what kind of decision that you might have to make, unless we're coming from a long-term relationship, and now are kind of free and clear, but somebody that you've been dating, you're not sure if they're quite the one. You may have a lot of opportunities, but the question is, are you using proper judgment to decide, who is best for you? And, maybe the judgment really is about, is it time? If it's something that has recently happened where you have kind of left a serious relationship, it may not be time to just jump into something else. And the Outcome card is a card that, this is one of the major arcana cards I was noticing, is the Lover's card. This is a card that's self-explanatory for personal relationships. It can indicate, committing to somebody perhaps. And yeah, that's why I was saying too, like if you had already fallen in love with somebody after, waiting for the official divorce to come through, do you want to start a new relationship? And actually the Lover's card can be a choice. So just like the Two of Swords, having to make a choice, whether or not you want to just jump right back in, or if you want to take a breather. The Lover's card is connected to Gemini, and Gemini is the opposite sign of Sagittarius. We're starting to have those eclipses in Sag and Gemini this year, and there will be an eclipse, a lunar eclipse in Gemini towards the end of this year, and that will be in the 7th house, in general for Sag. So that might be the time when a relationship is fully ended, if you've already started legal proceedings, or if you have been on the fence of whether or not to commit to somebody. You may finally get to that point where you know what you want to do, or you decide to commit. Also, in terms of timing, there's also a new moon in Gemini on May 22nd, so that might be for some people new committed partnership. But in general, the Lover's card can also indicate, it's connected to, for work matters. It could be even like a partnership with somebody else, and that might have been what you were deciding on, whether or not to stay with the company where you have been, working very diligently, or to team up with somebody else, perhaps. Or, like I said, it can just be a decision that you have to make, and perhaps you have an offer. But again, all that glitters isn't gold. So if you have at least one other offer, make sure that you've thoroughly investigated it. And, don't use an eagerness to leave an uncomfortable situation to be too, eager to leave prematurely without, checking something out. Because the Seven of Cups can mean that there is deception here, or you're not seeing things clearly, you have muddled thinking. But it just, sometimes it can just be positive, where you have a lot of opportunities, and that's just that, maybe that's what makes it so difficult, is that you're, hey, being a Sag, I'm sure that you're very, you're in high demand, so anyway, that's what I have for you, Sag. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Thanks for watching. Bye.